Welcome to the Murphy, Sam, and Jodi After the Show podcast, which is brought to you by Omaha Steaks with something special for Father's Day. Stick around for a special code that we're going to give you at the end of the podcast where you can save and buy Dad something special.
Today's the day that music history has been made. We are a part of a day where music history has been made by one Miss Taylor Swift. Because she, not only has she, set the entertainment industry on fire. We have never seen anything like this, but she has bought back and will reissue those 6 albums, the ones that she made Taylor's versions of, she re-recorded.
Yeah.
We had heard first of all, before we had heard about this the first time earlier this week, this was possible. Realize her having to re-record the Taylor's versions of the albums is what prompted. It was the inspiration for the Eras tour. You guys know that?
Oh, no.
Yes. When she started having to go, okay, well, this was it. She realized she had eras in her music because the first album was this. The first album was country. Mm-hmm. And then along the way, it's like Red kind of felt like the pop thing, and Speak Now also did. And so when she started planning the re-recordings, that's when the Eras tour came to her.
Right. Which is business genius, by the way.
It is.
All of it is. Mm-hmm. And for anybody that doesn't remember why this even happened in the first place, because it has been a long time coming. It's been a number of years since this whole
6 years
struggle began. And the way that it started out at the beginning for her, when she recorded her first 6 albums, it's pretty standard in the music industry that the label is going to own a portion of it because money is fronted to you. There's expense in producing albums and studio time and those kind of things. And so obviously early in her career, she wasn't the billionaire that she is today.
Right.
She did exactly as any other artist would do. And in the label had a portion of her publishing rights and all those things. The rub became when Scooter Braun, who had owned the company or the rights or whatever, when it sold to a larger company that then bought it for $300 million.
Yes.
She said, wait a second, I was supposed to have an opportunity to buy my stuff back. And through the process of all that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so because it didn't happen, I mean, this is mind-blowing to me. This, to me, is why she should be the study for college classes.
She is.
Dedicated to her for the future, because it was a lot of risk that she took. There was no guarantee that her re-recording her albums was going to produce this great fortune for her. And she knew that going on a tour, she had the fan base, that's the way to kind of fuel things. But it was all big risk going in to re-record these, and she succeeded at it. And here now, she's been able to buy it all back. Mm-hmm. It's mind-blowingly amazing. So she has 2 sets of incredible music with a fan base that still is just as rabid as ever before.
Right. She's purchased them from the recent owner, Shamrock Capital, for an undisclosed 9-figure sum. She's very happy with it. She says she felt like it was exceptionally fair and reasonable. This all came from her directly in a handwritten note to fans that's circulating today in social media. Here's a part of it, the note from Taylor. To say this is my greatest dream come true is actually being pretty reserved about it. All I ever wanted was the opportunity to work hard enough to be able to one day purchase my music outright with no strings attached, no partnership, with full autonomy. I will be forever grateful to everyone at Shamrock Capital for being the first people to ever offer this to me. Mm-hmm. My first tattoo just might be a huge shamrock in the middle of my forehead. That's part of her letter to fans.
One of the stories I read on Billboard, an industry magazine, said that she probably paid, or it's believed that she paid close to what Shamrock paid Scooter Braun. They bought it for $360 million. 2023. Mm-hmm. They supposedly have made about $60 million a year on it, and they saying that she bought it back for close to that amount. They didn't okay, well, we're going to jack it up to $1 billion.
No, they did something that was fair for her.
Well, and it was probably smart for them to do so because a lot of the music industry on the radio and the streaming, services and all that agreed to support Taylor's newer versions.
They may not have been making as much money as they thought they were.
Right, exactly. And so it was probably a no-win situation long-term for whoever bought that because Taylor is so powerful and she's done so well with her re-recorded versions and everything. It's really unprecedented support for an artist, at least in our lifetime that I can remember. As successful as the Beatles have been, and there was the whole big battle to wrestle back and buy back their catalogs and so forth. this was a gargantuan effort in a time period where it was, again, I think it was really risky.
It is
but
really risky.
She stuck with herself and what she believed in to make this happen.
Other artists would not have done this as successfully. It's because she has such rabid fans. And one of the reasons she has such rabid fans, I'm going to touch on this, and I believe it to be true. There's no fact based. She is the most honest with her fans in the music. You don't have to sit down and do a tell-all interview with Taylor Swift because she gives you everything in the music. So much so that's relatable but real. You know these thoughts have been real to her. She writes things about things that she's experienced, and it touches on a lot of levels. And she's what's the word? Prolific. She just writes and writes and writes and writes, and there's so much coming out of her. So she's talented, but she's also business-minded, which doesn't always happen. Those two things don't always exist inside an individual, and they do exist inside of her. If someone else were to try to do their own versions, it might be I like the old versions. It's about the fan base being 100% in her corner, and I think it's because of the honesty that she has given them. She has never once tried to fool an audience or for any reason in any way.
Well, and to me, it's little things like how she shares and shared the wealth of the tour with the entourage that, everybody that helped her to put on that tour. She paid bonuses to all of them.
Well,
and
she made giant donations to food banks in every city.
Right.
Yeah. It's a day in music history. I remember I think it was earlier this week, maybe even Monday morning, early, getting the show ready, doing, planning what would be in the Hollywood Outsider. I mentioned to Sam, I'm seeing one story. It's one story that she has the opportunity to buy her music back. And here's what's up, just an inside here. We're not going to bring a story to you in a Hollywood Outsider or Music News unless we see it in several places, multiple sources. So we only saw it in one place, and let's just not even talk about that yet. Let's not even touch on it yet. But it was reported there. And look at this. Today's Friday, and here it has happened.
That person that reported it's probably going, ha, ha, I told you so.
Oh, well, yeah, still. I mean, some of the biggest stories do get leaked to one place, and one not so credible place sometimes.
One of the rags,
and Taylor Swift is so awesome at being able to generate interest around any sort of thing that she's done in the past. But Swifties will sometimes jump the gun.
Of course.
Then, because weren't you saying at the American Music Awards it was supposed to be?
Yeah, we can address that. The Reputation album, they were saying that there's stuff she posted on her merchandise site that was giving hints that, the Reputation album is going to be the next one she releases, Taylor's version. And
it would make
also
sense.
On Handmaid's Tale, I think last week or the week before, it was Taylor's version of this song.
Don't like your little
So it's like, oh wait, Reputation. She started re-recording
I thought for sure.
it. Yeah, and then you do see the note in her note. She addresses this. The Reputation album, she said, was from a specific point in her career and her life and her growth. That she said she's tried to go back a few times and redo the Taylor's version, and she's just not there.
And not anymore.
She's recorded about a quarter of it again, but she said that's all she can do. She goes back at it repeatedly, and it's like, I'm just not there to redo that one. So she says we may never get that one whole album Taylor's version.
Taylor's version.
She did say, though, that the first album, which she has never released, is Taylor's version, which I think is Taylor Swift. She said she has redone that one all the way.
So we'll eventually get them all.
And she even posted in here like, hey, if you guys want to hear that one, we'll get to a point where I'll release that and you can hear the Taylor's version of that one.
Right.
But right now, she's got all the albums, so she can do what she wants.
That lengthy handwritten statement that's floating all over social media in her handwriting, again, another touch that made something personal. It's crazy. Yeah. It's just music history, whether you like her music or not. I know, I have a friend who cannot stand Taylor Swift. Our friend Catherine. She cannot stand her. And it's just so funny. But it's, like you said, Murphy, it's something to be studied.
Yeah, I mean, I think whether you're a fan of her music or not, I mean, it is a clear fact that she has talents in multiple areas: writing her own stuff, singing her own stuff, being the mastermind behind. And I know that she's got a great team that supports her, but she's clearly in control of her brand, and she understands it's a brand, and she also understands that everything throughout music history has a shelf life, and everything. I mean, everybody gets their 15 minutes. Sometimes the 15 minutes goes a couple of decades, but at some point, she's not going to be able to tour, and she always will be. I'm sure she will always be in the public eye. But the catalog, the thing that has grown her, it does have a shelf life like anything else. And so now she's bought it back at the time where it makes the most sense, and there are going to be people that, love her originals. Was Love Story her first hit? Was that her very first hit?
No, her first hit was the song called Tim McGraw.
Oh, yeah.
It's a country
Country
song. When you hear Tim McGraw, that pretty. But Love Story was the one that sort of said, there's pop music in her. Right?
Okay, that's right. It was a crossover.
Hit.
Yeah.
It was a huge hit.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was her first hit. No, sir. I remember at an award show a long time ago watching her perform, and I remember her being nervous. She was a teenager, and I thought, wow, she's nervous, but man, she's gutsy. And then she won something, and someone got up and accepted with her, like a producer, and he said, I want the world to be ready for the artist that she is. She is not just another singer. Like, you need to be ready for the artist that she is. And this was a person who had spent a lot of time with her behind the scenes, sort of thing. So
I mean, I'm very fascinated by it, and I would not call myself a Swiftie.
Oh, no.
And it doesn't mean that I don't have any problem with that. I love Swifties, and our daughters are Swifties.
Oh, yeah. Well, Phoebe is for sure.
But it is just it's fascinating to me. It is great music, and I do enjoy her music. But the story
is unbelievable.
It's like a crown jewel achievement. I mean, it's weird. If you're a fan of Taylor Swift in any level, this feels like an incredible victory. Period.
I will say this. This is on the low. Reputation is my favorite Taylor Swift album, and I was nervous to hear the new version. Because the way that it was recorded, and when you know a recording, you know the nuances of that recording. I almost kind of didn't want it. And have you seen the little signs that are sold, and a lot of people have them? As for me and my house, we listen to Taylor's version.
Oh,
yeah.
So funny.
And I mean, that's and how many other artists have ever been successful at that? There have been millions of re-recorded versions of songs and re-releases, but nothing that has been able to gain the kind of traction, support, and record sales that she's done with her re-recorded versions.
It's the honesty.
It's really
what
amazing.
I think.
It's an amazing story.
The honesty, I think.
Yeah.
So we'll see what else she has to say, right? Because, I mean, this was the big drop, the big news that came today, but there's always more from Taylor.
yeah. There's always more in the vault for sure.
Missed any part of the show? Get it all on the Murphy, Sam, and Jodi podcast.